Ready? Well. Hello, this is Jack from Historical Archery, and today we're going to check out slinging on horseback. So I'm pretty sure there's enough clearance for slinging. It's just, can I use my whole body? I would say I'm using about 80% because I'm not using my hips.
Good mare.
Oh, she's getting better. But yeah.
Good.
And as you can see, there's enough clearance. I think compared to a bow, they hear the sound much more. But I don't think that's a big deal because people load guns and shoot, rifles on horseback, so I don't think the sound's the biggest issue. I think the biggest problem is just compared to a bow, it's less accurate. And it's already less accurate on foot, but on horseback, that's even more compounded. There's another issue. If you're being pursued by cavalry and you're trying to do a Parthian shot to slow the horse down, the enemy that's trying to chase you, it's so hard to do a Parthian shot. I've seen it done, but it's very hard. Ah! Okay. So now I'll try to do a Parthian shot there. Actually, we'll move right here. Well, I'm going to try to do a Parthian shot, see if I can even do it, but I don't think so. It's really hard. Ready? Ugh. Not even, I'm hitting here, not backwards. It's really hard, and I'm not getting a lot of force. Compared to me slinging forward, I'm not getting much force at all. If I'm being pursued by cavalry and all I have is a sling, I'm pretty much screwed. I wouldn't even bother using the sling. I'd rather use a bow. Use a Parthian shot and easily shoot directly behind me, as you can see. It's very easy. And relatively accurate. There's no way I can be that accurate with a Parthian shot with a sling. Now, the biggest advantage of the sling on horseback is it doesn't weigh a lot. As you can clearly see, a sling is very small. And so you can carry your primary weapons, like your saber, your spear. In ancient warfare, when slingers were used, well, most of the slingers came from backgrounds that did not have an equestrian culture. You see, slingers usually came from, shepherd cultures, people that didn't have a lot of money. If you own horses, on the other hand, you probably had a lot of money. So these two things just kind of don't combine well together. In fact, for people with cavalry, you're more likely to be fighting in a melee, throwing javelins on horseback, or shooting with a bow. But because of this class structure, I would assume that these cavalrymen would feel like this is beneath them because they would think this is a peasant's weapon. And so in that kind of context, a lot of cultures by default won't want to use this on horseback. Now, we actually have mention of Rhodian slingers. Well, okay, they were actually Rhodian infantrymen, but there was a specific scenario where the commander wanted Rhodian slingers, but these Rhodian infantry didn't want to be slingers because they're worried they're going to be paid less. So they had to actually, mention that, hey, you're going to get paid the same as a slinger. So with that context in mind, you can imagine if you're a cavalryman, using this probably feels kind of degrading in a sense. So I think that's at least in Europe. So for example, Balearic slings, they're used by shepherd men who don't really have a cavalry culture. So these mercenary slingers don't have a lot of experience riding horses, so they just don't go well with that. So for Balearic slingers, they won't be using it on horseback. For Iberians, I think they prefer the javelin, similar to Carthaginians and Numidian cavalry. They prefer the javelin because the javelin just has a lot more stopping power, I think, against cavalry. When this gets thrown at a horse, because of how large this thing is, of course, at close range, you got a much higher chance of killing the horse. Now, in the context of Egyptian warfare, especially in the Old Kingdom, in chariot warfare, accuracy matters a lot. And when it comes to the bow and the sling, the bow has more accuracy on average. So if you're doing chariot warfare, you got to shoot a chariot from a decent distance while it's moving. So accuracy matters a lot more. So I can see why bows mattered more than slings for chariot warfare. So, and also there's a driver and you're the slinger. Imagine trying to do that in a cramped space, I don't think would be very easy. Plus there's horses in front of you, and if you accidentally whip the horse, it could lose control. Now when it comes to Central Asia, I think bows were probably more preferred because bows were more accurate, and it's harder to do a Parthian shot while you're being chased by cavalry, because with horse archery, often you're trying to chase a horse or being chased. I just think the bow is better at killing horses because the arrowheads have more stopping power, because it causes bleeding, it penetrates, and if it hits vitals, it can kill the horse very quickly. It's the same reason why you don't hunt today with slings. If you're going to use bow or sling, your bow is more likely to hunt deer than a sling, because not only is it more accurate, but you're more likely to take down the animal. Thank you so much, Monarch Equestrian Center and Ben Roth, for this amazing opportunity. Anyways, stay tuned.